What's up, y'all? Today's video, we're gonna look at all the neighborhoods within Boulder. I'm gonna kind of give you just a breakdown of what the different spots feel like. I'm gonna be setting foot in each of them, showing you around, doing my best to give you the vibes of each individual neighborhood within Boulder. So from now on, when you're thinking, I'm moving to Boulder, or I'm thinking about moving to Boulder, it's not just some homogenous thing that is Boulder. It's specific neighborhoods with a vibe just for you. So what do you say? Shall we? Let's go. How's it going, y'all? My name is Jesse Lynch, and I run the hardest working real estate team in the game. We're called Welcome to Denver. You can check out our website, welcometodenver.co. Real quick, I know I'm not in Boulder yet. I just want to come up here, if I'm being totally honest. This is Lost Gulch. This is Lost Gulch Lookout. God, it's beautiful. It's like 15 minutes from Boulder. So if nothing else, I just want to get you excited. If you're moving to Boulder, you have access to a lot of beauty very nearby. But this YouTube channel is all about helping you find a place to call home here in beautiful Boulder or Denver. And that's whether you're just buying a house for the first time or relocating here from a different state, city, country, or planet. Low bridge, first time home buyers, relocations, that's what we do, and that's what we do better than anybody else. So if either of those things appeal to you, do us both a favor, subscribe to this channel, click the bell to get notified, give the video a thumbs up, and say what's up in the comments. And as always, if you're thinking about moving here, if you're gonna make the move or just buy a house here, do whatever you can to get a hold of us. You can go to our website, welcometodenver.co. We have a contact form, super easy to fill out, or you can shoot us an email at info@welcometodenver.co. They both lead to the same place, and we are very excited to help everybody who's been reaching out move here. It's so much fun. We love this place. It's great. I think you'll love it too. Like I said at the top, this video is all about the neighborhoods within Boulder, but just kind of wanted to give you a little bit of motivation. This kind of thing is a big part of why you want to move to Boulder. And yeah, let's go down there, shall we? Let's go. First off, we have downtown Boulder, and I think the downtown Boulder is different than what a lot of people expect it to be. For one, it's smaller, it's quainter. Like if some people are expecting, you know, like a small version of Denver, and that is not the case at all. It is considerably smaller, much more in line with like a small town than, you know, a major city, which is fair. It is, right? There's 100,000 people population here, but it is becoming more and more a hub, sort of cultural hub of Denver. But that said, it is small, but it is mighty. Downtown Boulder is just a very cool spot. Primarily, it centers on Pearl Street, which is just a block over there, but there's so many people there that I'm not gonna walk there. You can check out the Boulder virtual tour. I walk over there, but I'm here at a terrible time of day to be just walking through Pearl Street. It's yeah, it's like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That is not gonna be fun. Real quick, Boulder Theater, gorgeous. And there is just the architecture down here. It's largely sort of Victorian era. Boulder's an old but small city. The population in this downtown area, which is not that big, mind you, it's only a handful of blocks wide by maybe, I don't know, a mile long or something like that. The population here is 2,100 people. Median home price, I will say there's a lot of downtown, like many downtowns, is not very like single family home centric, but if you're, you know, 2 blocks off Pearl, either west or east of Pearl, you will find single family homes. A lot of them are beautiful and so walkable. If you're lucky enough to have one of those homes and be this close to downtown, this close to Pearl Street, what a cool lifestyle. What a beautiful, quaint city to live in. But it's going to cost you $1.5 million on median to buy a home here, and there's not that many of them. So if you're wanting to be close to downtown, I wouldn't just limit it to only things within downtown. There are plenty of other places that are sort of downtown adjacent that I think will sort of serve the purpose equally well. As far as schools go, elementary school, you're gonna have Whittier Elementary School, middle school, Casey Middle School, and high school, Boulder High School. Let's hop over to the next one. Right now, I'm in a neighborhood called University Hill, aka The Hill. It is basically just to the south of downtown Boulder. It is just to the north. I almost just slipped on a couplet. It's just to the north of Chautauqua, and it is just to the west of CU Boulder, Colorado University, Boulder, the university. And as you can probably tell, it is a very vibrant, very youthful area. There's a lot of stuff going on. I couldn't even shoot much further that way because there's just too many people, too much of a pain in the butt to shoot. There are a ton of commercial spaces. The Fox Theater's back there, which is one of the coolest venues maybe in the world. Actually, Rolling Stone, I think, voted it one of the coolest venues in America. And it's just home to a bunch of hip, young restaurants, bars, all sorts of different cuisines and all that. It is very much feels like, well, for one, actually, probably the most hippiest neighborhood. I could be wrong, but I think it feels that way to me. Hippiest neighborhood in all of Boulder still, and I think it's probably sort of because of the presence of the university and all the students and all that. And CU Boulder is basically, 4 blocks that way, 2 blocks that way. Super, super close to where I'm standing right now. And then you're gonna find, just single family homes. These have been turned into apartments, kind of old, larger homes that have since been, changed over to have multiple units. And I would say it very much has that college lifestyle going on. People walking all over the place. This looks like a fraternity or sorority house. I don't know. I didn't do either of those. And I believe it is the single most densely populated neighborhood in Boulder, with a population of around 3,500 people. And the sort of renter population is going to be fairly high over folks who live in homes that they own here. That said, house prices are quite expensive here. 1.2 million is the median sale price here, and I would say a fair amount of what's driving that is probably people owning rentals here, so the ability to just buy a home is rather scarce here. And it is probably the single most, maybe one of the most walkable neighborhoods in all of Boulder. As far as schools are concerned, not counting CU Boulder, for the most part, University Hills is serviced by elementary school, Flatiron Elementary, and University Hills Elementary School. It's served by Manhattan Middle School of Arts and Academics. I probably will say that differently every time I say it. And it's served by Boulder High School and New Vista High School. All right, on to the next one. I would be remiss to not include this campus, the University of Colorado, aka CU Boulder. It is a gorgeous, gorgeous campus, and it takes up a pretty big footprint of the Boulder, I don't know, map. So I think it's only fair to count it as its own neighborhood. Also, it does have a population of 6,000 people, which I'm going to assume is pretty much entirely students. Okay, real quick though. The views, again, I know it's small because this camera's so wide, but you got the Flatirons, and the architecture of CU Boulder is absolutely stunning. If you want to impress your friends, it's a Tuscan vernacular revival. And geographically, it is situated just south of downtown and just to the east of Chautauqua University Hill, and then just north of South Boulder, and then just north of South Boulder, and basically Broadway is the street that sort of borders it all the way on the east. But either you're watching this video because you're going to go to CU, or you are going to buy a house here or something. So either this definitely pertains to you, or this will just be some pretty architecture in the city that you're going to live. But I will say that CU Boulder very, very much is a piece of the identity of Boulder, and sort of lends to that progressive politics of the Boulder area as a whole. So it definitely seems worth including. All right, let's go to the next one. I am in the Chautauqua neighborhood. Basically, right here, this is Baseline Road. Anything west of Baseline Road is considered Hilltop Chautauqua. At least that's what I've heard people call it. And then everything that way to the east of Baseline is considered Lower Chautauqua. Real quick, just a glimpse at Flatirons. Beautiful and very, very Boulder-esque. Any further west than Chautauqua, specifically Hilltop Chautauqua, and you're in the mountains. As far as the borders are concerned of Chautauqua, to the north you have Aurora Avenue, to the east you have 20th, to the south you have the foothills of the mountain, and to the west you have the foothills as well. And then actually the street that sort of rounds off there is 9th. Chautauqua area is beautiful. It's set up high, obviously in the foothills. It overlooks downtown Boulder. Let me not get hit. So as you go down that way, that's further down the foothills, and you're overlooking downtown Boulder, and it's beautiful up here. And then if you go to Hilltop, naturally you're higher up. The views are going to be even more impressive, and you will find a lot of very beautiful historic homes in the Chautauqua area. Up Hilltop Chautauqua, you're going to find like Victorian homes. Down here there's a lot of craftsmen. This house is just a beautiful example of a craftsman. So nice. Love that porch. Big chunky pillars. Big fan. And then right behind me, basically right where we started this little section, is Chautauqua Park, a beautiful park with views of those Flatirons. So cool, with a lot of very, very cool history. There's an auditorium there. I think it's just called Chautauqua Auditorium. It was built in like 1898, I think, and just super cool. It's kind of like a barn, and just a very like unique spot. If one wanted to, catch a show there, you definitely can, and it's just a very unique experience. The houses here between, I guess, Greater Chautauqua, which nobody calls it that, that's just me calling it that, but between Hilltop and Lower, the median sale price is $1.5 million, which is not cheap, but it is a very, very nice neighborhood, and very, I don't know, very Boulder, right? Again, those Flatirons, it's about as Boulder as it gets, and this is cute. Just a fan of that secondary little ADU. Adorable. Probably was a garage or a carriage house at one point. A lot of great history, a lot of amazing views. Again, Chautauqua Park is basically serves as trailhead to many trails, and it's just beautiful. And as far as schools are concerned, you know Boulder's got good schools, so I'm gonna not say that every single time. But the schools that specifically serve this are Flatiron Elementary, Manhattan Middle School of the Arts and Academic, yeah, I said that right, and Boulder High School. All right, let's pop over somewhere else. Can you see the Flatirons? Love it. Right now, I am in basically 29th Street Mall. You might see it as a neighborhood just called like 29th Street neighborhood. It is basically a massive commercial clump, if you will. That's not a very poetic way of putting it, but there's a very dense collection of commercial spaces, including the 29th Street Mall, as well as just other buildings that I think would not technically be considered part of that mall. And while you're not exactly going to live in 29th Street Mall, there are a lot of neighborhoods right by it. Specifically to the north, you have Glenwood Grove and Noble Park, and then to the south you have Baseline Sub. If you look at 29th Street as a neighborhood, it is very small in the grand scheme of things, but it's great. And I think a lot of folks are gonna like the idea of living relatively close to here. And so like a lot of these other spots that we're looking at, there are sub-neighborhoods within it, but here it's a little bit less of there being neighborhoods within it and more neighborhoods right around it. So, you know, look at a map, you'll see where 29th Street is, 29th Street Mall, and then the neighborhoods right around that are gonna be pretty sweet and are gonna have access to all of the commercial stuff. You know, all of the retail, shopping, restaurants. There's a Home Depot here, literally right next to a Shake Shack, next to a mall. Yeah, it's like a very diverse collection of commercial spaces. So that's it for this one. Going to the next one. This next one is a mixed bag. It's hard to just like pinpoint down and go to a neighborhood and go, that's what this area is like, and that's Central Boulder. You'll see behind me old sort of farmhouse style homes. Even this house, old, but very nicely maintained. Cool house. But then what I'm walking towards is like a totally different world entirely, which is, you know, new build. They're beautiful homes. Some of them are a little more like the detached townhome vibe, if that makes sense. Which is to say, basically, they are smaller and tend to have floor plans that are more similar to a townhome, but they are detached and they have all four of their own walls, and typically they are tight. They're sort of like in a tight row with a small space between each one. Central Boulder is located close to pretty much everything. Obviously, it's called Central Boulder. It's not to be confused with downtown Boulder. And this boundary, and actually every boundary that I'm using, because it can be a little bit of a challenge to find specifically what people are calling what neighborhoods without getting into like all of the very small neighborhoods. These boundaries are defined by a map that I found on Boulder Colorado, USA.com. And those boundaries basically are: to the north, Iris Avenue; east is Folsom; to the south is Alpine; to the west is Broadway. Central Boulder is a pretty big chunk of land, not the largest in all of Boulder, but the largest that is close into downtown, if that makes sense. And the population here is 32,000. So it's not the most dense necessarily, but it is the most populous. The walk score isn't going to be particularly good here, depending on where you are. You're pretty close. Actually, 29th Street, like 29th Street Mall, is actually sort of encompassed by Central Boulder. So if you're close to that, then yeah, it's decently walkable. But even that is pretty big. So I don't know. If you're close to that, you're not close to all of it, because it is a pretty good size chunk of land to have all of that commercial space in it. So see what I'm saying? Definitely single family houses, definitely detached, but a little bit tight, smaller lawns. Definitely feels like a HOA maintains this area. It was very, very nice. For elementary schools, Central Boulder is serviced by Creekside Elementary School at Martin Park, Foothill Elementary School, Whittier Elementary School, Flatirons Elementary School, Columbine Elementary School, and University Hill Elementary School. It is serviced by middle schools, Centennial Middle School, Manhattan Middle School of the Arts and Academics, and Casey Middle School, and 4 high schools, Boulder High School and New Vista High School. All right, that's it for this one. Let's go to the next. I'm in NoBo, aka North Boulder. That's probably what you're going to see on most maps. And North Boulder used to be like an industrial zone within Boulder, but I feel like they're taking a little bit of a lead from Rhino in Denver, like the downtown part of Denver. Rhino is River North, the arts district. NoBo is North Boulder, and it too is becoming very known for sort of being an arts district within Boulder. And as is almost always the case, where artists go, where artists flock to, and so do unique restaurants, bars, and just interesting commercial spaces, sort of one-of-a-kind spots. This neighborhood is like a very much a unique development. I don't think there's really anything like this anywhere in Boulder or the Denver metro area. Boulder's median home sale price is right around $950,000. The population here is right around 12,000, which seems to be growing at a pretty solid clip. Again, used to be industrial. Now there are pretty dense developments like the ones you see here. They also have a thing called First Fridays, which is basically like an artists open studios at different artist studios. That's probably very obvious. And that, along with just a certain vibe, there was an affordability at one point. $950 isn't exactly affordable compared to the Denver metro area, but it's fairly in line with Boulder as a whole. And there is still some affordability here in North Boulder. Actually, within eyesight, about a block from where I stand right now, there is a mobile home park. And I believe there's 2, maybe 3 within North Boulder, which obviously lends to affordability, although again, $950 median sale price is not exactly affordable by a lot of folks' standards, but the homes here are very cool, and there is an opportunity to have an epic home, some very beautiful homes in NoBo, North Boulder. As far as schools are concerned, elementary schools that serve NoBo are Crestview Elementary School, Columbine Elementary School, and Foothill Elementary School. And for middle schools, you have Centennial Middle School and high school, Boulder High School. All right, let's hop over to the next one. It's starting to lose daylight. Right now I'm at North Boulder Park, And I know that I've already been in North Boulder, but this is actually technically in Old North Boulder, is basically just south of North Boulder and just north of downtown. It kind of makes sense, like before North Boulder was created, this was North Boulder, and so now it's Old North Boulder because there's a lot more Boulder north of here. You are going to find all sorts of very beautiful houses here in North Boulder. There is, I would say, some of the best examples of mid-century modern within Boulder are in this Old North Boulder neighborhood. And there are, like here, great park spaces. It butts up right to the mountains. Beautiful. There are gorgeous views kind of all over the place here, and it is very, very nice neighborhood. And naturally, you're very convenient to downtown Boulder. So if you work, in like a tech company out of downtown, this is going to be a great fit. Or maybe you work or, spend a lot of time in like more sort of suburban amenities, then cool. Then Central Boulder is going to have a ton of that stuff for you while still being so accessible to the mountains. Again, let's check out the Flatirons back here. Big fan. Old North Boulder has a population of around 4,000 people. It is not that big of a landmass, so it's fairly dense, but it's pretty much, I would say, largely single-family homes here. But they are definitely it's pretty full, I guess, before running directly into the mountain. Median sale price here is going to be $925,000. For the most part, you're getting an older home here. There are some scrapes where people have taken, a more, I want to say historic, but I also would like to assume that maybe somebody isn't taking like a wonderful historic home and just an older home and scraping it and putting something brand new up. Here's one that's, pretty modern style. There's one right over there as well, but you will have a lot of options when it comes to the older homes. Like, I feel like within eyesight right now, I'm looking at a more Victorian era. This looks like maybe 1920s or something like that. Right next to it is more of like a ranch style that I'm saying is maybe like 1950s. Right next to that is more of like a Cape Cod. That would be maybe 1930s, 1940s, something like that. And then there is beautiful mid-century modern, basically 40s through the 60s as well, kind of all throughout here. A lot of choices as far as that goes. And then as far as schools are concerned, for elementary schools, you have Foothill Elementary and Columbine Elementary. Middle school is Casey Middle School. And high school, Boulder High School. Sweet. Next one. Y'all, right now I'm at Twin Lakes Open Space. This is in Gun Barrel, which if you're looking at the map, it doesn't look like it's part of Boulder. It almost looks like it is its own suburb, right? Which is, I don't know, maybe fair to say, but it is technically a neighborhood within Boulder, if that makes any sense at all. But Gun Barrel has a lot to offer. It is very much the northeast sort of corner of Boulder, like way far up. You basically go through sort of like a rural stretch of land. Hey, by the way, yeah, it's a different day. Okay, I don't know if you can tell. I ran out of light. Okay, so I'm back. So from the stuff that you just saw, it's tomorrow now. It also snowed last night, so it might start looking a little bit different. Twin Lakes. This is one of the Twin Lakes, if that's not painfully obvious. And yeah, Gun Barrel, it's removed. You're driving through like kind of a farmland to get here. It's very pretty. And even from here, the Gun Barrel neighborhood, you have views of the mountains. It's very pretty, and it's removed from kind of like the, I don't know, the action, right? So not that, that Boulder is like that crazy and there's like that much action, but yeah, Gun Barrel is definitely like the quieter, like, I don't know, almost like distant cousin of Boulder. The population here is only 3,700 people, and it's a pretty decent size piece of like land, but it's not developed yet. It's not all the way developed. I would say it's not even really close to all the way developed. I see Gun Barrel as being very much sort of a path of progress, sort of where I think a lot of people are going to end up. Maybe folks who want to live in Boulder but just can't afford it, because median home price here is $700K. And I would say a lot of the homes here are relatively new, because it is a relatively newly developed or newly being developed. Not that that makes any sense, but again, it's a path of progress. It's relatively new as far as the development going on here, and it's very close to downtown Boulder, closer than most of the suburbs. Maybe the one sort of drawback is that it's even further from Denver. So if you have business to do in Denver, then maybe this one is getting a little bit far removed from the Denver area. As far as schools are concerned, I'm just going to read it. Actually, I've never pronounced some of these words out loud, so apologies. Niwot Elementary School. That's the one that I'm like, Niwot? That seems like it could be a bunch of different things. Heatherwood Elementary School, Crestview Elementary School, Douglas Elementary School. Middle schools, Centennial, Nevin Platt, Sunset Middle School. High schools, Fairview High School, Boulder High School, Centaurus High School, and Niwot High School. There it is again, or however you pronounce that. Several schools serve this Gun Barrel area. That's a very hard thing to say, Gun Barrel area. So I would just implore you to look up the specific school ratings for whatever area you're thinking about. Get it? On to the next one. Here is Upslope Brewing Company. It's like a very trendy, like desirable sort of brewery, and we're in East Boulder, which is a very unique spot for pretty much the whole Denver metro. It is fast growing, like it is becoming a hipper and hipper place to be, but it is largely an industrial area. Not in like a maybe like old warehousey sort of like historic, maybe like Rhino, but more of like an office park, almost suburban looking office park. But they're really changing sort of the face of it, and it really has changed a bunch, where what used to just be kind of like boring run-of-the-mill like industrial parks with maybe like trucking companies and I don't know, probably accounting firms or something like that, just like random offices, and now they've turned a bunch of them into very cool, very hip sort of shops. Now there are not a ton of, homes here, certainly not a ton of single family homes in East Boulder, but there are some. But you're gonna find the median sale price here is very low. It's, well, for Boulder, okay? So sorry if that's offensive. $466,000 median sale price. But I do want to sort of caveat that with a bunch of the recently sold houses are condos that are sort of part of an affordable housing project, which are very cool. There's some like really cool new build condos that have sold for like $150K. So I will say I don't know all of the details of that program. Obviously you'd have to qualify, you'd have to make under a certain amount, and it might be more of a co-op situation, but I'm not 100% sure, but I do think that that has probably skewed those numbers slightly. So $466 median sale price, that seems extremely cheap, and it is, especially for Boulder. There's a population of around 4,200 people in East Boulder. I would say a lot of it is going to be sort of like condo townhome styles. And again, there are some really cool things on the market here that if you compare it to something equivalent being built in like anywhere near downtown Boulder, would be just so much more expensive. So it seems like you get kind of a lot of house for your money in this East Boulder area, and it is becoming a more and more sort of desirable neighborhood, even though right where I am right now is very industrial. But I think that sort of captures like not the aspect of like the neighborhoods, but overall sort of when I think of East Boulder, I think of this sort of industrial aspect, and then there's, you know, residential stuff mixed in. There are some areas that are not so industrial for sure, and definitely some single family homes here. Some people call it the Brooklyn of Boulder. I don't know. I feel like people from Brooklyn are going to feel very misled by that. But I think it's sort of the hipness, the fast moving, the fast growing aspect. I guess I can see that, but don't think it's actually going to be like Brooklyn. That said, there are award-winning, you know, like chef-focused restaurants, really great breweries, coffee shops, you know, progressive sort of like food culture. There is that going on here, and seems to be driven by tech companies being out here. Obviously, tech companies need offices. There are a lot of offices out here, and so I think that is a pretty big driver in what is actually sort of changing the face of East Boulder. As far as schools are concerned, the schools that serve here: elementary schools, Douglas and Columbine; middle schools, Casey and Nevin Platte; and high school, Boulder High School. Let's go. Right now I'm in Tantra Park. I think I'm saying that right. And right over here is Summit Charter Middle School, very highly rated middle school. And we are in South Boulder, which is definitely a great spot. Has a lot going for it. It's kind of like a chiller, more neighborhoody, quiet neighborhood. I know I said neighborhood, but that's true. That's what I think about it. It's a little bit more of like an atomic neighborhood, right? Like a sitcom from the 50s. You're getting like a lot of Rambler ranch styles, and, you know, not huge yards, but decent sized yards. And then, like everywhere else, of course, there are some homes where they've scraped and turned them into new builds. This one right here is a pretty good example. And then you can see over here, these are like townhomes. There are a good amount of sort of conveniences here in the South Boulder area. You have a few denser like collections of commercial spaces, which is actually something that I tend to really enjoy, especially in a neighborhood like this, where it almost feels suburban. But I like when there's a little bit of a separation between neighborhood and commercial. Unless you're living, you know, in the city, that sort of like older historic neighborhood, like maybe like Chautauqua or the Hill. For me, those spots, it makes so much sense to have sort of commercial intermingled with residential. But I feel like when I'm looking for that atomic neighborhood, like what I think a lot of South Boulder feels like, you have that separation of commercial and residential. I don't know if you can see back here, but South Boulder does have beautiful views of the Flatirons. It is sort of nestled in to the foothills in certain parts and a little bit more removed from the mountains, but South Boulder does go pretty much all the way over to the foothills, and there are great park spaces, great trailheads, even just like the sort of residential parks like the one I'm in right now, Tantra, I think, they're very nicely maintained and just like a nice sort of neighborhood park. If you want to walk the dog, if you want to throw a ball, throw a frisbee, something like that, a spot like this, super, super nice. The population here in South Boulder is 13,000, which I would say is fairly dense, but it doesn't get a whole lot more dense than maybe a townhome like that. There are some apartments here, but I would say it is mostly a single family home and sort of townhome kind of neighborhood. Again, that atomic style neighborhood. Median sale price for homes here is $900,000, but I think that kind of makes sense. It kind of squares with me in that it's largely single family. That seems to make a lot of sense when I think about sort of median home prices in Boulder. And if you want, you know, a 1,500 to 2,000 square foot ranch or whatever, the median price here is going to be $900K, almost exactly. As far as schools are concerned, I'm going to read it again. It's too much to remember. Elementary school, Bear Creek Elementary School, Mesa Elementary School, Creekside Elementary School, Community Montessori School, Middle School, Southern Hills Middle School, Summit Middle Charter School, Manhattan Middle School of the Arts and the Academics. I was wondering if we're going to come back to that one. And Halcyon School. I think that's how you pronounce that word. I feel like I've only ever seen that written down. For high schools, you have Fairview High School, Boulder High School, and that Halcyon High School as well, which for both middle and high school is like a special needs school. I hope this was helpful. I realize that it is a lot to take in, and there is a lot to these neighborhoods, and I wish I could show you, you know, on the ground all over the place in all of these neighborhoods, but it's just a lot to cover, and I hope this was at least helpful as sort of a glimpse into all of the neighborhoods. I truly believe that every section of Boulder has a very, very nice, livable part to it. Just sort of depends on your lifestyle. But whatever your lifestyle, whatever your taste, whatever neighborhood you're into, we would just love to be able to help you find your place to call home here in Boulder or Denver, wherever. And so I would just implore you to just get a hold of us however you can. Go to our website, welcometodenver.co. We have a contact form there, super easy to fill out, or to shoot us an email at info@welcometodenver.co. We'd love to help you find a home here. We'd love to help you buy a home, whether it's just you're buying a house for the first time or relocating. Either way, it's what we do, and it's what we do better than anybody else. And as always, as you exit the video, please do so safely. Subscribe to the channel, click the bell to get notified, give the video a thumbs up, and say hey in the comments. I'd appreciate that very, very much. I hope this video was helpful. Yeah, it took a long time to shoot, 2 days, as you saw. It was a very different day than the day that I started at, but thank you for being here, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.